the only way that you can improve is not by putting all the faith in one technology, one doctor, one treatment program, but in pursuing the options that are available and pursuing the knowledge that is available to get better.
In healthcare and in beauty as a subset of healthcare, it's our job to say, hey, this is the concern you have, and this is how we're going to help you get to the beauty goal. And there are certain proven ways to help you get from where you are now, health-wise or beauty-wise, to where you want to be. But that process of getting there can be different for everybody.
You Are Beautiful, podcast with J. Kim, MD.
Welcome to the You Are Beautiful podcast with J. Kim, MD. I'm your host, Dr. J. Kim, and I am on a mission to make the world a more beautiful place, starting with you. I want you to embrace and internalize these three truths. Number 1, you are beautiful. Number 2, you are unique. Number 3, you are worth it. Let's take these three truths and put them deep in here, and let's step out in our most beautiful self. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Today, I have a wonderful guest here with me. He is a guru when it comes to all things related to integrative healthcare. Now, today we're going to take a deep dive into what integrative healthcare is and how it can play a significant role in achieving the most beautiful version of yourself. This will be of interest to you as a consumer in terms of helping you achieve the most beautiful version of yourself, as well as if you're an aesthetic professional providing these services, because we want to use every possible tool that we can to help our patients achieve that most beautiful version of themselves. So without further ado, I'm going to welcome Mike Turajczyk. We also know him as Polish Mike. Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kim. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
All right, so Mike, the first thing we have to start off with is, what is integrative healthcare?
Integrative healthcare is the thing that a lot of people talk about without actually knowing what it is. So I appreciate the question. The way that people describe it has many different definitions, and I think it's confusing people. So the way I'm looking at this is pretty simple. It's the approach to healthcare that combines the conventional medicine with complementary medicine in a coordinated way. Mm-hmm. The reason why this is important is because a lot of people look for this one hack, one shortcut, one doctor, one solution, one thing that is going to make their health magically improve. And the problem that I see is, while I'm super optimistic in general, it's not really possible, because especially when we are dealing with complex health conditions, we are complex beings, right? Human beings are complex.
Yeah,
There's so
absolutely.
much to our existence. One solution doesn't always work, and usually it doesn't work. So combining different solutions gives us this comfort of having a synergistic effect of all these solutions together. And it's not a fight between the conventional world and the alternative or complementary world, but it should be synergistic, should be together. We also get to tap into the power of compounding results and compounding effect of some of these therapies that actually work together. So the second part of that definition that I mentioned, in a coordinated way, is also important, because this is one of the problems that even for people who understand the concept, I think there's not enough people that are actually coordinating it. And that's where I would like to contribute a little bit more.
For sure. I mean, just because of my background in training in westernized medicine, we are very tunnel vision, so to speak, in terms of our education and in terms of our specialties. Like when we go into residency and further into practice, we're very, out of necessity, of course, we have to be focused on, one particular type of medicine, whether it be one procedure, one field. So yeah, I definitely agree with you that There are merits to the westernized traditional training of medicine, as well as the complementary modalities that have been around for centuries, for millennia. We know that there's some efficacy there to be had, and I think we would be not doing ourselves and our patients justice in terms of leaving that out of the equation when it comes to even something not super serious in terms of health, but in terms of you're achieving your most beautiful self. What inspired you to pursue your further knowledge of integrative healthcare?
Well, for me, it's personal. It really is personal because as I was, I'm going to give you a little bit of background without boring people with too long of a story. So imagine Polish Mike, having a super happy life, managing a chiropractic office, then later on medically integrated office. I also had a pleasure to be a co-owner of a wellness center / weight loss center, and we have so much success clinically in these centers. It's almost to the point that as a manager / VP of that office, I'm almost looking at this stuff as people come with so many different problems, and it's almost like you just haven't met us yet because we have all these solutions. And imagine the contrast that I felt when in the office I see so many success stories, true success stories, people improving so much, right? And then at home, my wife gets diagnosed with Crohn's disease. We don't, first of all, she doesn't know what's happening, right? So we go to the doctor does the colonoscopy, a bunch of other tests, and then she gets diagnosed with Crohn's. And as much as I'm like, okay, it's just another condition. Now we'll apply our strategies and she's going to be good. Mm-hmm. And she wasn't good because we tried a lot of different things. And then instead of improving, she was declining in health. And imagine she's asking me if she's going to make it when we are going uphill on a 15 degree slope. And I'm thinking about, it's not, am I going to make it up this hill, but am I going to make it? And then through tears and, a lot of stress, that kind of silently, I'm thinking about, this is impossible to have so much success in the office and not being able to help my wife. And I'm not a doctor myself, right? So as a manager, I'm using the help of all these different amazing people to help others. And then at home, even though she comes to the office, tries X, Y, and Z, she's not improving. And her story just made me realize that the only way that you can improve is not by putting all the faith in one technology, one doctor, one treatment program, but in pursuing the options that are available and pursuing the knowledge that is available to get better. And fast forward, because I promise not to bore our listeners with too long of a story.
No, thank you for sharing.
To where she is right now, she is feeling much better, not without ups and downs, but who doesn't have them? And we feel like, and with no medications currently, she started with medications that were not helping her, no medications, waking up at 5:15 a.m., gratitude journal, working out, so happy, genuinely fulfilled, and trying to help other people, found the purpose of her life. That would not be possible if it wasn't for the coordinated efforts of all these amazing providers that I asked for help. So I realized, you asked me about my inspiration, I realized that I was very lucky that I had a network of people that I could reach out to, and I had the guts to ask for help. But a lot of people don't have the guts to ask for help. They just silently start suffering. And a lot of people don't have a network, especially when something goes wrong. So I just made it my mission to promote integrative healthcare as a concept. And when I find amazing providers like yourself, Dr. Kim, who are open to collaboration, I just want to connect them with others because people need you.
Right. Wow. Thank you for sharing. That's good on so many fronts, so many levels. That idea of, not knowing where to turn to, feeling like you're alone, and admitting that you need help. That's, if you're listening out there, that might be a feeling that you're going through, whether it's in regard to your health or whether it's in regard to your beauty. You kind of reach a low or a plateau or a valley, so to speak, and you're not sure who to turn to take the next step. So yeah, that's really powerful in terms of your own story and how you were inspired to really look in further into integrative healthcare. So thank you for sharing your wife's story, Mike. That's really powerful, and I hope it speaks to some of you out there. You know, you might feel hopeless, but with certain elements of integrative healthcare, there is hope for your health and for your beauty. And I don't want to ask you anything where you're uncomfortable, Mike, but can you share with us some of the components of the treatment that your wife underwent to get through the tough part of the disease process to where she is now?
I want to share this with people because I think it actually matters. Because when you're in a situation like that, it's such a weird feeling. I always say we have Crohn's, or we had Crohn's, right? Because it's not mine, but you feel like you're one with your wife, right? With your family member. And a lot of you listening to this or watching the video on YouTube, you may have that situation where you feel like you're so connected to that person, you want to help them, that you feel like it's your problem as much as it is theirs, right? So imagine this, we are there, and where do we start? I compare it to like a Terminator movie, old Terminator movie, where you have so much stress that the whole vision becomes more blurry, and then everything kind of like blackens up and blackens out, and you have that one dot, and you feel like, you know, this is so much stress that is just overwhelming. So the way that we started this journey, and to answer your question about treatments, I think our treatment as people start with our mindset.
For sure.
Start with our mindset. So what we did, I remember we lay down in bed and I said, Monica, I know what we heard. I know how we feel. I know how you feel. I can only imagine this and I cannot watch this, but I will tell you one thing. Somehow, I have no idea how, but we will make it happen, that we'll make this the best thing that happened to us. Even though it feels impossible, we'll try to make it happen, that we will turn it into a positive. And I had no idea how we were going to do it, but I needed to say something to lift her up and, quite frankly, to lift myself up. And it started with a mindset. So we had the agreement between each other that there is a way out. We also removed the stress and the pressure that was on that one provider, her main GI doctor, who was actually, the way that we were given the news were not ideal. You know, somebody just comes to you and with very dry message, it's like, yeah, this is what you have. Diet has nothing to do with this. Here's a pill. You got to take it. The next step is this. A lot of people have it. I'm like, what are you talking about? You just gave us such a bad news. At least have the compassion to sit down, ask, how are you feeling with this? And telling me that diet has nothing to do with something that is related to her digestive system, I just refuse to believe in that. And when I asked that person about the cause, I'm digressing a little bit, but I think it's important for people because a lot of people have the same situation. When I asked that person about the cause, she says it's idiopathic, which means we don't know the cause. Yeah. And I'm thinking it's idiotic to think, not idiopathic, but idiotic to think that if we don't know the cause, there is no cause. Right. There is a cause, we just don't know what it is, so we need to find it.
We used to joke in medical school that idiopathic was just short for idiot and pathetic. It's just that we don't know, but you're right, there is a cause, absolutely.
Yeah. And, you know, I'm laughing right now, but these words really hurt us, like deeply hurt us, because I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, there's no cause, blah, 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 or it sounded like there is no cause. Of course there is a cause. We just don't know what it is, how to treat it. So treatment, you asked to share what helped Monica. So number one, having a positive mindset about this. Actually removing the pressure from that one doctor and blaming the doctor. If you're listening to this, you may be blaming your doctor for not fixing you.
Right.
It's not your doctor's job to fix you because they're not in your body. It's not your doctor's job to know it all because they usually have one specialty. And the complex health conditions, especially when it comes to autoimmunity, they're much more complex than just this one system that is affected. Absolutely. Whether it's thyroid, right, and Hashimoto's, or Crohn's and digestive system, and a lot of other autoimmune diseases, they're very complex, but you're usually seeing that one specialist who is specializing in the symptom that is the most prevalent in that moment. Yeah. So I suggest, because it helped us, to remove the pressure from that provider and say, okay, now I'm going to take control. I'm not a doctor. Monica is not a doctor, right? But I'm going to take control. I'm going to take the steering wheel and I'm going to steer us one way, then another, and we're going to try a lot of different things. So number one, just practical way to dig ourselves out from such a hole, I think is number one, having a good mindset. Then realize that you're actually in the control panel here. You're not at the mercy of somebody else driving this car and then blaming them for crashing it. No, we are in control. We steer the wheel. How do we do it? By asking questions, by asking for help. I asked everybody for help that I knew. So treatments that we did. Number one was a very, very comprehensive functional medicine workup. So not regular blood work that your GI or your primary care physician is going to order, but going very deep, to the extent that some people will say that it's unnecessary. Not medically necessary is not enough. Some people will say it's unnecessary, but guess what? I just wanted more information. So we went so deep. I don't want to go to every single, test that we have done, but imagine just one example that I will give you. We even went to the extent of doing, in addition to the regular blood work and then going much deeper to very advanced blood work, we also did a genetic testing. From the genetic testing, we extracted the raw data, we uploaded it to a portal that then spits out the metabolic pathways, and then it gives you different amazing discoveries that, for example, for one person, folic acid is going to be very much needed supplement. For other people, it may be poison. B12, if I have problem with methylation of B12, then if I take B12, even though my labs show me that I need B12, so how about I give you B12? And I'm not saying this is related to Crohn's directly, but overall to just giving you examples how functional medicine can be very helpful, is if I take this B12, but in the wrong form, I can create toxicity, as I'm understanding. If I take methylcobalamin, which is also another form of B12, now my body actually absorbs it and it solves a problem. Both of them are B12, but how do I know which one should I take? So we went number one with a very extensive lab work, multiple different ways, not only blood and urine and saliva, but also stool, comprehensive parasitology, all kinds of tests that you can imagine. And I was asking for help what other tests we should do. Then we started seeing a lot of different providers. We changed our GI doctor to somebody who was absolutely amazing. Even though it was a conventional medicine mindset and doctor, his daughter was actually a chiropractor. And he said, I understand that you don't want to take this medication. I understand that you don't believe it's going to help you. I believe I'm going to see you back very soon, and I will still be your friend. And we just smiled. We said how much of a welcoming atmosphere it was to be with that doctor. So we changed our GI doctor. We have done a lot of different tests. We tried different medications. None of them worked for Monica. And we explored what I would say complementary medicine a lot. So it was from the things that you can do in an office environment, like acupuncture, etc., to all the things that you can also do at home, including different technologies, mindfulness practice, gratitude, all these things. And all of them combined, pressed through the filter of time and also adjusting. She probably did 15 different diets, adjusting diets according to a specific moment in her cycle of recovery, and finally landing in a spot where she feels like we are making incremental progress. And I cannot say that the journey is over, we made it, we are at the peak of Mount Everest and that's it, because we need to always be prepared that there is some kind of a pattern, and we can just be grateful for how she feels right now and how her labs are showing her that she should feel, which is amazing. But it all started with mindset and then asking for help from a lot of different providers and doing things in office environment as well as at home.
Okay. Now, through the process, was there one professional who was like the quarterback of your wife's treatment program?
Yes. There was one person who was our go-to person even in the toughest moments. And while he didn't want to take that role necessarily because it's a huge responsibility for somebody who has a major problem, He was very gentle with, let's call it recommendations, because we were very clear it's not medical advice that he's giving me. But it was a functional medicine doctor who also had a role for us as a functional medicine coach. Plus, with all the amazing ways that he was able to communicate complex conditions and complex mechanisms, and also a great dose of optimism, because he hit 25,000 cases mark being a young doctor. So you have seen a lot. You have a lot of pattern recognition at this point. So when he was telling me, I have seen things like that. And when I was asking him, for example, you hear like your labs look bad. It's not binary, bad and good. How bad is it? Now I want to know, because I learned how to ask good questions. How bad is it? What is the scale? What's the worst you've ever seen? These are the questions that you listening to this, you can also ask your doctor. Or if they tell you, something is off, what do you mean off? What could be the reason for it? And if you see your doctor getting extremely frustrated when you start asking questions why, it's a good sign he's probably or she's probably not, integrated with the mindset.
Right.
So that's something that was very comforting for us, to have that one person that we kind of like labeled as like, you are our quarterback, and he's like, I'm just helping out, Mike. I love you guys. I want you to feel better. Very modest person, but extremely capable. And yes, there was one person like that.
I see a lot of parallels with somebody's health journey like that, and kind of between that and somebody's beauty journey potentially. And when it comes to, you said that when you guys got the diagnosis of Crohn's disease, it was very systematic in the delivery of that bad news and then what to do next, right? And so I really do think that, in healthcare and in beauty as a subset of healthcare, it's our job to say, hey, this is the concern you have, and this is how we're going to help you get to the beauty goal. And there are certain proven ways to help you get from where you are now, health-wise or beauty-wise, to where you want to be. But that process of getting there can be different for everybody. So it definitely resonates with me and with my patient base that, you might have a beauty goal, but the process to get there will be kind of uniquely catered to every person.
Very unique. And that's what I realized also, that it really is, there's no one size fits all for any health condition, because the reason may be different for that condition. And on top of that, we are all unique. So what's very good for me may be really bad for Monica, right? And one thing I wanted to also touch on is in healthcare, we don't have enough compassion. The news that were delivered to us are what they are. And I actually appreciate, because that doctor was correct, right? It was what she told us it was. But, having the experience of being delivered the news in a form, imagine a doctor who is extremely serious and almost treating you like a number and say, hey, this is what you have. I know what I saw. Don't tell me. Because I was looking for hope, right? So I said, maybe it's not that. Maybe there is a chance. Maybe we can change something in her diet and she actually will feel better instead of having all these unbelievable symptoms. And she says, basically very condescending. It's like, hey, I'm the doctor here, and you don't tell me what it is. Diet has nothing to do with this, which was, of course, wrong advice. Diet has a lot to do with this. And, I don't know enough to pretend that I have any solution to any health problem, because I don't. But I know one thing, there are solutions out there. And if this doctor had integrative mindset, they could say, okay, how about, trying certain things that work for other people that are maybe outside of my scope of practice, then come back to me and let me know X, Y, and Z, and then we're going to go through this together. I'm here with you. And one thing I wanted to share with you, Dr. Kim, there was the moment that actually inspired me to start this whole doctors networking group that I believe is going to make a big difference in people's lives, is the moment where Monica started feeling better. We had all these unbelievable amount of labs that we also paid out of pocket for, and it was
Right.
not easy to get it, not easy to schedule and get all these pokes and very frustrating. But then tons of supplements, tons of dietary changes. She had so many intolerances because her gut and leaky gut, everything was so inflamed that she had intolerance to almost everything. And she's like, what am I supposed to eat? I cannot eat anything now. And when we finally moved the needle, I called this doctor and I said, Dr. X, I'm going to leave out of respect, I'm going to leave the name out. I said, we have great news. Monica is feeling so much better. We just wanted to share with you what we have done for her so you can help another
Yeah.
person. And you know what she told me?
What did she say?
She said, don't send it to me. I said, I'm about to email this to you. She said, don't. I said, excuse, I remember I was in front of Panera Bread in Rockville and I'm like, excuse me?
Oh.
And she says, don't send it to me. I'm not going to even look at it. I'm like, are you serious? Like, I'm burning from frustration. Imagine this.
Yeah,
Like, my wife has
yeah.
turned the corner. I'm trying to team up with this doctor. And she says, Mr. Turajczyk, I'm not going to look at it because I'm not trained in that.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, oh my goodness. So from frustration to through understanding or to inspiration, and then landed in also a lot of understanding. If the doctor is not trained in that, they can still have a knowledge about possibilities to help their patients, right?
Right.
But I think it's coming to how our healthcare system is currently designed, that you don't want to say
Yeah.
something, give false hope. So I'm trying to be very understanding for what I received. But I'm telling you, Dr. Kim, when I heard it, I'm like, this is unbelievable. And it just told me one thing. There are some providers who have a mindset of being integrative and collaborating with others, even if they don't know the answer. And there are some providers who just have blinders and say, hey, that's what I do, that's what I'm specializing in, and I don't want to know anything else. And that binary approach to providers just helped me identify the ones who have at least a hope for being integrative. And I'm almost looking for it in people, even if they're not integrated. I'm like, hey, maybe you would like to collaborate with others. And it's such a rewarding experience to connect providers together.
Yeah.
But I wanted to let you know that it was coming from that very dark place where I'm calling with great news, almost like eureka, we solved the enigma. And she says, don't send it to me. I'm not going to even look at it. I just will never forget these words.
Just thinking about, traditional Western medicine training, education, two things come to mind. First, a lot of us are just so ingrained in how we, assess our patients, diagnose, treat, whether it's, health condition, whether it's beauty, whether it's some other, goal. And, we're very tunnel visioned in that. And so like any bit of new information, we're very slow to accept in the traditional medical community. And as a surgeon, I will be completely honest, I kind of have that bias too, is like, the knife cures. But I know better than that to say that the knife is not going to cure everything, right? It's not the one solution to better health. It's not the one solution to better beauty. Likewise, at the very least, I do hope that our aesthetic professionals listening and also our general audience listening would be open to the idea that, yes, there will be advances in healthcare, whether it's traditional Western medicine healthcare or whether it's integrative healthcare, that we need to be open to those ideas. The other aspect of that really resonates with me is that patients, no matter what kind of medical professional they see, they are looking for compassion. And I think that was something that you and Monica sorely needed when you were in your lowest of lows. And so, I really do think that ties back to the idea that you're treating a person, right? This person has wants, has needs, has goals. And when it comes to what I do, like this person has beauty. It's just that it's been hidden for a while, or they haven't realized it yet. And we're trying to get to a place where that brings out their beauty, that brings out their happiness. And for you and Monica, it was getting from that place of, just every day, just frustration and, a lot of pain and suffering to a place of more normalcy. right? And so I really feel like our job as healthcare professionals is to meet the patient where they're at, right? No matter what field you're in, really is to meet the patient where they're at, listen to what the patient is saying. Those of you listening as patients who are visiting aesthetic professionals or integrative healthcare professionals, find someone who listens to you. That's really key. And that reinforces your initial mindset when it comes to, hey, I'm here, but I want to get to there. And yes, it starts with your mindset, but then the help around you has to reinforce that mindset for you in terms of, hey, we can get there. There is hope.
Yes, I will tell you something that connects to beauty, because you mentioned, okay, how is that integrative healthcare, helping us, with the beauty? It's all about what you're talking about, which is we are beautiful as human beings, and it's not necessarily just the expression of beauty that is perceived by one as beautiful, by another one person as not necessarily that beautiful. It's not just the looks. The inner beauty, I believe, and this is my personal opinion on it, the inner beauty needs to be discovered or recognized, acknowledged, and then presented to the world. But how can I present? Okay, I'm a guy, so maybe I shouldn't. How can Monica present? And I don't consider myself beautiful. Monica, she's such a beautiful person, inside and out, right? How can you present your beauty, even if you discovered it? Or even how can you discover it if you're not healthy? You're only focusing on getting better. So in that context, I think integrative healthcare helps us with our beauty. Internally, we start realizing that we are beautiful as people. It can help us express who we are, how we show up. And another layer of beauty, I think, is in the ups and downs of healthcare, because we will all go through these ups and downs. And one of the things that people don't realize is when we're down, and that's what helps us, and that's why it all starts with mindset. When we are down, I always tell people, it's only to realize how high the mountain is. Because if I'm in the deepest valley, now I can appreciate that this is really big. I can also look back and just be very, very frustrated, maybe even emotionally challenged or depressed because I lost that mountain and now I'm in the valley, right? So I felt like, we spiraled down, which a lot of people feel like now they're on the bottom. But somebody much smarter than me said one day that the rock bottom can also be a very good foundation to build, right? So when we are on the rock bottom, we can build from there. We can realize the mountain is so big and we can climb up that mountain. And guess what? When we have another up, the baseline changes. Because right now, Monica, while she was going through these ups and downs, and it took us years, it wasn't like a magical pill that she took. So even while she was doing that, when she was having a great day, she says, Mike, you have no idea how I appreciate this day. This is my great day with energy. I don't know if tomorrow I'll have a great day, but today is great. Let's do something awesome. Let's go out, right? So it helps us appreciate. And the beauty is not only, the person's beauty is not only the external self, but I think it's also what we bring to the table when it comes to discussion with others. And bad experiences that we all have from time to time, no matter how we want to show up on social media and just pretend that we are these flawless creatures, which doesn't exist. Maybe AI appears to be, more flawless. I don't know. But, we all have these ups and downs. And I think what's beautiful is that as human beings, we can admit that we made a mistake, that we messed up. And many times in healthcare journey, what if you ate something that you were not supposed to? That these small things can sometimes shake us up. But being kind to ourselves is also another way that we can express our beauty, because we can help that person get better.
Yeah, that's so key, to give yourself grace when, things don't go exactly the right way, intentionally or unintentionally. Life has detours. I know you know that as well as I do, maybe better. One of the other things that came to mind is that, this really is a journey So two aspects to that I can kind of glean from your experience and Monica's experience is that it's not going to happen overnight, right? And there are going to be ups and downs. Yeah, as much as you want it to happen yesterday, it's not going to happen so quickly. And in today's society, we're always looking for quick. And it's good to have small victories along the way. But at the end of the day, you know, with every ebb and flow, you're trusting the process. You're showing up because you have that mindset of, hey, this is worth it to me. You know, whether it's my health journey or my beauty journey, this is worth it to me. And, you know, we're going to continue to show up and to do the things that we need to do to get where we need to be. So that's very inspirational. And again, I thank you for sharing your and Monica's journey with us
Of
today.
course. Yeah, anything that can help the person listening to this. If you have a person maybe on the podcast who is looking at different options and trying to choose, what should I do? There are a couple of very practical tips that I wanted to share on
Absolutely.
the patient side and on the provider side. On the patient side, what helped us a lot, which I know most people don't do that, and I don't know why that is, but it's just not a common practice, even though it's common sense. We tend to not ask for reports when we go to a doctor. So, for example, if I go for a CAT scan here, we tend not to get the report. The report is for the doctor because they should all communicate. But guess what? They don't communicate.
Of course.
So now you go to another one, they're going to have another CAT scan or another report, which even if another one has to be taken, the previous report can give people an idea of how the disease is progressing or regressing, right? So asking for reports is really good. And if you're going through this and maybe you're listening or you're caring for somebody who is going through some health challenges, one of the practical tips that I can give is just always ask for reports. Give me a CD, please. Could you email me the report? And then having all the labs over the years just in one, digital file or physical file, whichever you prefer. Another thing that I think is very important is having a very good mindset about this and also having hope. And what helps me is that one day I'm going to just tell this story and inspire someone who is going through the same thing, right? Maybe it's on You Are Beautiful podcast with Dr. Kim, right? Maybe it's on stage one day, but I'm basically trying to create a contrast and perspective, because when we are in this tough, moment in our life, we tend to not be able to assess the situation realistically. It could be better, but it seems like everything is falling apart. So one of the things is create a contrast and just say, hey, when I finally go through this, and I don't know how, but I will, when I finally go through this and it gets better, I'm going to use this experience to help someone else. So that helps. For patients also knowing to look for different options that some of the things you're going to be recommended sound purely crazy. Like, for example, energy medicine, or how is this supposed to help me? Or like we talk, PMF, coils and different things. How are all these things related? Well, there is a lot that we don't know. And because we don't know, we need to just try different things with open mind and let the placebo effect also, that 40% or whatever it is, work for us instead of against us, because that also comes back to mindset. If I know something is not going to work for me, then I have the nocebo effect, and even if I try the right thing, it's not gonna work. But if I have the faith that it's gonna be better, then whatever I try, even if it didn't move the needle, it can actually help move the needle through the placebo effect. So that mindset, I think, is gonna be important. So get reports. If you're going through something like this, have a very good mindset about this. Be optimistic, create perspective, and reach out for help, because a lot of people don't reach out for help. They think that there's, a dignity issue or whatever, right? But sometimes we have a wrong mindset about asking for help. Dr. Kim, if I ask you for help because I have, something with my face and I would like to have plastic surgery done, and it's going to be very important for me, you're not looking necessarily at me as somebody who is weak and asks for help. It's actually a compliment. Because
Right.
if I ask the doctor for help, it means I trust that doctor to help me. So if you
Yeah.
ask other people to help you, I think you need to have a good mindset about this if you're listening, and
Hmm.
just know that you are paying people a compliment and saying, I trust that whatever you say or do can help me. So that's on the patient
Yeah.
side. On the provider side, really quickly, uh, collaborate with others, please. And if you don't know something, just steer the patient with a lot of hope to a direction that you think might help them. And don't
Yeah.
promise because you don't know if it will, but collaborating with others, having a follow-up phone call from time to time,
Hmm.
how are you feeling, means more than you think. Any text message I received from these doctors, literally yesterday, after about 7 years, and he was not a doctor, he said, last time I met you, I remember your wife was going through some hard time and she was ill. I just wanted to
Right.
check if she is better. The completely different, industry, but the fact that he followed up, it
Hmm.
meant so much for me, and I'm happy to report that she's doing better.
Right.
But these things, if you're a provider and you follow up with your patient, if you give hope without overpromising anything, also educating ourselves on new technologies, new AIs, new different ways to help people, new programs. There are very optimistic things happening in healthcare that we just have to be open to, integrate. I
Yeah.
just wanted providers to get inspired. And also, if you don't know how to do it, join some kind of a group. It doesn't have to be our doctors networking group. It can be a different group, but join a community where you can ask a question, and who knows, maybe the answer is going to come faster than you think.
Yeah. I think, going back to what you said earlier about trust and mindset, that's super important. I can perform the same surgery on two different patients or multiple different patients. And depending on the mindset, that can determine their perceived measure of success after the operation, right? The same goes for my non-surgical providers in my office. My Botox injector can inject 5 different patients, and depending on the amount of trust that they have in the injector, as well as their own mindset about their beauty, they can have 5 different opinions about
So true.
how good their treatment is, right? And so that totally resonates with me in terms of success with your healthcare journey and also with your beauty journey. That's really good.
Yeah, and they're both integrated. Talking about
Hmm.
integrative healthcare, your health and your beauty
Yeah.
are one really, or one leads to another, right?
Hmm.
So I admire you, Dr. Kim, for doing what you do, because you have a very, even though you mentioned that in your conventional or traditional world of plastic surgery, the common practice is X, Y, and Z. We also have off-camera conversations, and you tell me about being open to, and actually you're passionate about this and excited about these things. Oh, there's this technology. Tell me more, Mike. Tell me.
Hmm.
This means so much because it's not just a conversation between two people. It's also a conversation that can save somebody's life in the future or improve somebody's life in the future because a provider was open. And instead of saying, I have all these amazing certificates, all these surgeries, all these successes, you don't have to do it, but you choose to do it. You choose to have a podcast and interview people to bring the knowledge and different collaborating partners to your listeners, right? To your patients, to your
Hmm.
community. That says a lot about you as a person, and I really admire and I thank you for giving me an opportunity to share the story. I want to inspire one more person to get off the couch, have hope, put that remote control and chips for a quick second and beer, whatever you're drinking, for a quick
Hmm.
second, and just say, hey, maybe it's not that bad. Maybe I just haven't tried it all, right? And then
Right.
start trying and have a good mindset about it. So, Dr. Kim, big thank you for the invitation today. It means a lot, and I'm not saying this on behalf of myself only, but also on behalf of our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity, Mike, to talk about integrative healthcare, about your experience with Monica, of course, and how it can tie into the mindset of your beauty and in terms of getting from where you are to where you want to be. Before you go, Mike, where can we find you and more of your content and information?
I would encourage people to go to polishmike.com. On that URL, I'm going to link a lot of different things that are going to be useful for people. You will see, please don't get confused, because you will see things that are seemingly unrelated to each other, but they're very much integrated and related. So you will see things about healthcare marketing and branding, but everything is in the context of integrative healthcare. You will see things about the doctors networking group. So now you will say, hey, this non-clinical person is playing a role of a doctor. No, I'm not. I'm just trying to feature amazing doctors and bring them to other doctors and patients as well, because people need this. So all the things that you're going to see on that polishmike.com may seem like it's not directly related to what we are talking about, but everything is around my mission. And my mission right now, inspired by Monica's story, is to promote integrative healthcare.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for this wonderful conversation. And as you, the listener, I hope that you gained something from this, something important when it comes to your health and your beauty. It's an integrative approach. It's not a one-stop shop for one specific treatment or modality. It's a more comprehensive way of getting you from where you are to where you want to be in terms of your health and in terms of your beauty goals. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the You Are Beautiful podcast with J. Kim, MD. A huge thank you to our wonderful guest, Mike Turajczyk, for his time and effort and sharing his story and experience with integrative healthcare. I'll make sure to leave his information down below so you can check out more of his content, and leave a comment with something that resonated with you from today's episode. Thank you for tuning into today's episode. And remember, you are beautiful, you are unique, and you are worth it. Till next time, take care and stay beautiful.